Hey, Joseph.
Hmm? What's up?
How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Oh, like, all the time.
Really?
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of parallels between the fall of the Roman Empire and the current state of our society. It's crazy to think that these two different epochs are connected by a series of commonalities. One, an unbelievably wealthy nation with the power to spread democracy wherever it chooses. And the other, an ancient, pre-technological paradise full to the brim with anime girls.
Anime girls?
Yeah. Yeah, the anime girls. This is obviously based on the books that I've been reading.
Books? You sure it wasn't trading cards?
It might have included some trading cards, yes.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts! I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Alright, we got Memento out of the way. Now time for the deck that everyone seems excited about. For some reason. You're all jazzed to summon Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, huh? Anyway, here's Centurion.
What is his name? Nautius Maximus. Centurion, do you have anyone of that name in the garrison?
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the #1 place to go if you need a pack simulator, a card database, or want to read a wealth of strategy articles. They also post breakdowns and lists from every major TCG and Master Duel tournament, including the Master Circuit series. Give them a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. So with that, let's see what Centurion can do. Centurion is an archetype based on commanders of the Roman army that have apparently been hit with the anime girl beam, or more specifically, the Gainax beam. The playmaker, Primera, has a studio-triggered ability that adds a Centurion from your deck to your hand, and each monster can, under certain conditions, be treated as continuous trap cards. They can emerge from their phalanx to perform Excel synchro summons, make material to body block, and push the limits on what a one-card combo is allowed to accomplish. That said, they've got in-archetype bosses, so everything's Gucci, right? Well, not exactly. Since you have the capability to synchro summon via the field spell on your opponent's turn, you're able to spend your first turn summoning Legatia, which has 12 stars, then your opponent summoning, you guessed it, the Crimson Dragon, targeting Legatia to summon Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. This is the best build yet at making this monster that seems destined for the ban list, and maybe this will finally be what puts it over the edge. Outside of that, the deck does a whole lot of nothing, hence the 60% non-engine. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the Centurions. 3 copies of Primera. While this card is a continuous trap, level 5 or higher Centurion monsters you control can't be destroyed by card effects, and the next couple of effects are all hard once per turns. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Centurion from your deck to your hand, except herself, and you can't special summon herself for the rest of the turn. During the main phase, if this card is a continuous trap, you can special summon this card. Centurion Trudea. During your main phase, can place a card you control in one Centurion monster from your hand or deck, except herself, in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous trap. Also, you can't special summon Trudea for the rest of the turn. During the main phase, if this is treated by a continuous trap, you can special summon this card, then you can increase its level by 4. After that, we have Centurion Emmet 6. During your opponent's turn, if this card is in your hand or graveyard as a quick, you can target a Centurion monster you control, except Emmet 6, put it in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous trap, and if you do, special summon this card, but you can't special summon 6 for the rest of the turn. During the main phase, if this card is a continuous trap, you can special summon this card. After that, we've got hand traps, and a lot of them. 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Ghost Ogre, and 3 Effect Veiler. Next, we have 3 copies of the field spell, Stand Up Centurion. This card can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while you control a Centurion monster card, and the next couple of effects are hard onces. During your main phase, if this card was activated this turn, you can set a card from your hand to the graveyard to put a Centurion monster from your deck into your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous trap, and if a monster is special summoned, you can immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon a synchro monster using monsters you control, including a Centurion. We've got 3 copies of Emblema Oath. This card allows you to activate one of these effects, either place a Centurion monster from your deck into your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous trap, and for the rest of the turn while you control that card or a card with the same original name, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except Centurions, or set a Centurion spell trap directly from your deck. Lastly, we've got a copy of Centurion Bonds. This allows you to place a Centurion monster from your hand or graveyard in your face-up spell and trap zone as a continuous trap, and if a Centurion Synchro monster is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, banish it, and target a Centurion monster in your graveyard, put it in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous trap. Finally, we've got 3 copies of Super Poly, 3 copies of Crossout Designator, 2 Pot of Desires, 2 Thrust, 1 Talents, 1 Called By, 3 Imperm, and 1 copy of Phalanx. Target a face-up monster card on the field, banish it, and if you do during the standby phase of the next turn, special summon that banished monster to its owner's field. You can banish this card from your graveyard to target a Centurion Synchro monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it loses 1500 attack. You can only use one of those effects per turn and only once that turn. In the extra, we've got the Blowjob Brothers, Starving Venom, Fusion Dragon, Dragostapelia, Guilty Gearfried, Garua, and Mud Dragon of the Swamp. They're quintuplets, followed by a bunch of synchros: Cosmic Blaze Our Dragon, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, Crimson Dragon, Chaos Angel Baron de Fleur, and Chaos Archfiend. We're also playing 2 copies of this card, Centurion Legatia. Your monsters with 2000 or less attack can't be destroyed by battle. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If it's special summoned, draw a card, then destroy the monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, your choice of tide, and during the end phase you can put a non-synchro Centurion monster from your hand to graveyard in your spell and trap zone as a continuous trap. Finally, we are playing a copy of Typhon and a copy of SP Little Knight, the requisite amount of cards necessary to compete in the current format. In the side, we've got Bestials, Druis Worm and Magnemut, we've got Droll and Lockbird, we've got 2 Lightning Storms, a Harpy's Feather Duster, and a Herald of the Abyss for Purrely post board. Speaking of, we've got a Dimension Barrier and 3 Solemn Judgment. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Exos and behold the thing! We're going to begin with a copy of Primera. We'll activate the effect. That's going to grab from our deck to our hand the field spell. We'll activate Stand Up Centurion and then activate the effect, pitching 6 in order to get Trudea. We'll activate the effect of the Trudea, and then afterwards we're going to tag into a 6 and a Trudea, summoning the 6, and then activating Stand Up Centurion to go into a Legatia. We'll trigger the effect of the Legatia, set 1 card, and then at end step, we'll go ahead and trigger its effect to set a Primera. In our opponent's main phase, they're going to go for Sakitama. We'll let them normal summon, and then afterwards we're going to fire off this copy of Primera. We're going to summon her and activate her effect again. We're going to grab a copy of Bonds, then afterwards we'll activate Trudea, and we'll activate Stand Up Centurion as well as 6 in sequence, so we'll have an 8 and a 4 to go into the Crimson Dragon. Crimson Dragon targeting Legatia, and there he is. So they can still summon monsters, which is not too much of a problem because our last unknown is Super Polymerization, but even so, this does contest the existing board. We're going to go for Legatia at end step, and then we'll go for Primera. This should just be a hop, skip, and a jump to lethal. We're going to go for Stand Up Centurion and Primera in sequence so we can go into Baron de Fleur, and then trigger the effect of the Garua we made on our opponent's turn, pop the Sakitama, and get in for well over lethal. What an interesting game with lots of counterplay. Despite the fact that frequently opening King Calamity wins you the game on the spot, there are not only some decks, but also some hands that don't really care too much about it. Such is the case when we are playing our second game against Unchained, which seems to have bricked. We have as well 5 pieces of non-engine until we draw Stand Up Centurion. That's full combo on its own, so let's go ahead and get ourselves a Primera. That's going to be met with an Ash Blossom. We will chain Crossout, and they will chain Infinite Impermanence. Uh-oh, not too good. Okay, well, I guess we can go ahead and fire off the Thrust. That'll set a copy of Imperm for our opponent's turn. Set this Super Poly and get in for 1600. We'll pass back to our opponent with the card in hand for the Super Polymerization, and they draw, one of the best cards they possibly could off the top, this copy of Pot of Prosperity. They're going to find off the top, any name will do, but they're going to go for Red Doggy here. They'll activate the effect, targeting one of their set cards, and hey, what do you know, that set card has an effect. That Escape from the Unchained will float into a Sarama. They'll activate the effect of the Sarama, targeting the escape, and then set the escape and pop the Chamber. They'll activate Chamber's effect for Shayama, and then go to the battle phase, trying to get over everything they can while they can. They're going to make Abominable Unchained Soul and get in for a ton of damage. Then in main phase 2, they'll start committing to stuff that's more heavy. Down comes Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. We will imperm that, and they're going to go for Sharvara in graveyard. They'll chain Escape to contest the last card and resolve the effect of the Yama. It is Super Polymerization, which enables us to get a really sick Garua, but unfortunately they are just off to the races at this point. Arua target their last set card. That triggers the Yama in graveyard, bringing back Sharvara. We can activate the effect of the Shiyama in graveyard, then the Arua that we popped in order to summon Disaster. Wow, didn't draw the dog, and end on a Rage. We'll draw for turn. I guess we can lead with Typhon, but that's pretty much all we're enabled to do. Soul of Rage into SP Little Knight will activate the effect of the Garua, and woo, that's a pretty sick draw. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do with these cards. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Purrely, and we've opened the thing! It's a little stranger than usual. We're going to use Oath to get out Primera without expending our normal summon, so that if our opponent Infinite Impermanences, we can then just go ahead and normal summon the Trudea. We'll activate its effect, and then make a copy of 6 in the back row, activate 6's effect, summon it, 8 plus 4 is 12, let's go for Legatia, activate Legatia, and oh, Pretty good draw off the top, I'm not going to lie. And we're going to go ahead and set that Primera at end step, and our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Pretty Memory. We're going to chain Primera and Trudea as CL3. That'll summon them both, and then afterwards they will summon a Purrely. From here, they're going to activate the effect of the Purrely as turn player, and then we'll go stand up as CL2, Primera as CL3, and 6 as CL4. Finally, we're going to chain Infinite Impermanence to negate the Purrely as CL5. That'll resolve backwards, and guess what? It's time for the Crimson Dragon. At point of resolution, we're going to fire off the Crimson Dragon, targeting the Legatia, and there's King Calamity. Afterwards, our opponent will set one and pass, and this should be all she wrote. We'll go for Legatia here at end step to get M at 6 once again. Let's normal summon this copy of Primera. We'll activate the effect. Then afterwards, we'll activate the effect of the 6, summon it, and then perform a Synchro Summon via stand-up into Crimson Dragon. This time we're going to go for Blazar Dragon, which is very funny, and then our opponent's going to scoop. So it's time for game 2, and our opponent's going first. We've drawn Herald of the Abyss. Let's see if it's enough. They're going to begin with Mi Amigo Purrely. That's going to grab from deck to hand nothing. Probably worth an Ash Blossom. Unfortunately, it's going to turn on that triple tack, which draws them 2 cards, which they can then pitch to the quick plays. One of those will be another Mi Amigo. They're going to go for Purrely and activate the effect of the Purrely after firing off the street, targeting that copy of Sleepy and making Lil Noir. From here, they can fire off Happy, 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 chaining Noir in order to set a copy of Purrely. And then afterwards, they can summon a Purrely from deck with their last remaining one. They're really hoping to hit here, and of course they do. They'll go for Delicious Memory here, chaining Noir. Chaining Noir? What? Oh my god, we're playing Purrely. All right, they're going to set one card, then at end step, equip from deck via Stray Purrely Street. We'll draw for turn. Maybe we can make this work. They're going to draw a couple of cards, then activate Purrely. That's going to allow them to go into a copy of Noir, and they're going to play around Kurikara this game. They're going to go for Purrely into X Purrely Happiness for some reason. Let's go ahead and Herald of the Abyss, calling Fairy Dark here. We do get to send this copy of Noir to the graveyard. We'll fire off a Pot of Desires. They will chain Purrely, and then afterwards we will just go ahead and Feather Duster the board. Unfortunately, that Mi Amigo is protected by Happy, so we're not going to be able to pop it. Instead, we're going to go Primera into Bonds into Trudea. We'll trigger the effect of the Trudea. That's going to get us access to the 6. We'll activate the 6, summon it, and then afterwards Synchro Summon for Legatia. We'll activate Legatia, we get a Trudea, they trigger my friend Purrely, and then we'll go to the battle phase and walk over the last remaining monster. Unfortunately, while we're in an okay position, they have everything they could ever want in their grip. They'll begin with Mi Amigo. I guess we'll Ash Blossom once again, go for Baroque here. Unfortunately, they can just normal summon Purrely, and 1, 2, 3. That's a lot of options. They're going to go Purrely here in order to go into Plump. Then they'll activate Sleepy Memory and chain the effect of the Plump, which enables it to banish this copy of Legatia till the end step. They'll go Purrely next. We'll go for Primera in order to body block, and then afterwards they're just going to go ahead and fire off another quick play, which enables them to use the effect of the Purrely Plump again in order to banish the Primera. I am pretty sure we're cooked here. They're going to go for Purrely once again, activate Plump. Let's just go next. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and we did it. We opened something. We're going to go for Primera here. They're going to Ash Blossom. Bad news for them, that turns on Triple Tactics Thrust. We'll use it to set a copy of Dimensional Barrier. What a fun game of Yu-Gi-Oh! We're about to play. Next, we'll go Oath. That will set a Trudea. We'll activate the effect of the Trudea, and then activate its effect on field in order to get to the 6. We'll go for the 6, and then afterwards, we're going to Synchro Summon a copy of Legatia. We'll activate Legatia's effect, draw a card, and what do you know, it's another hand trap. We'll set that Primera, and then pass back to our opponent. We don't have access to Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity here, but we're probably still fine. We'll Ghost Ogre this copy of my friend. They refuse to happy it, which is enjoyable. We're going to go ahead and fire off this Ash Blossom in response to this Purrely, and they'll just go for the quick play here for Purrely, finding off the top. Okay, well, Street it is. They'll activate Street. We'll just go ahead and fire off the Dimensional Barrier now before they get any ideas, and then they'll fire off Thrust in order to grab a Talents. They're going to go for Talents here to draw 2. It doesn't get them out of the hole. They're going to set 1. We will go Primera at end of main, trigger the effect of the Primera in order to grab Stand Up, and Trudea as well in order to get us access to the 6. We'll go 6 here, and then we will enable them to pass turn, activating the effect of the Legatia at end step. That's a funny draw. We'll go into Crimson Dragon, activate Crimson Dragon, targeting the Legatia, enabling a Cosmic Blazar Dragon. They will Pretty Memory in response to the Trudea, which is funny, but not enough. We'll go ahead and activate the effect of the Trudea to summon itself. Then they will Purrely, finding off the top a Mi Amigo. We'll go for Trudea on field to set a Primera, and then Primera to summon itself, activating the effect of Primera in order to grab Bonds. We'll go for Bonds here in order to get back the 6, special the 6, and go to combat. We get over for 15, and then we'll Super Poly the last one away in order to get in for 19, 35, and a Blazar Blast Lethal. So we're back with the deck, and yeah, it did the thing. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it makes the Calamity lock really easily. Look, this deck is really only good at the one thing, and that's putting 2 level 12s on the field and then going card neutral for it. This is what it was born to do. 2, it has an abundance of non-engine space. Play your choice of non-engine, or experiment with a supplemental one. The full engine is only 16 cards, so you can play Bestials, Dynamorphia, Blind Second cards, whatever your heart desires. And 3, the deck does not care about Droll. The deck searches navigate around Droll via placing and setting, so it really only needs one to get to full combo. And the cons. 1, it is very weak to negation hand traps. The deck can often play through exactly one hand trap by drawing the field spell or the unsearchable quick plays, but an Ash Blossom and an Imperm will almost always leave you on nothing. 2, its engine is abysmal at going second. The deck is so tunneled into doing one thing that it has no tools in its arsenal for playing into boards. You simply hope you draw enough non-engine to try and make any form of play. And 3, there are some decks that do not care about King Calamity. If it was an auto win, don't you think Monadium would be the best deck? Overall, I wouldn't hop on this deck right now, but it has enough potential in its advantage engine that it might bounce back with some support. For now, get tinkering as to what better archetype you'll play alongside it. Thanks so much for watching. A huge shouts out to all of my patrons, but specifically Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Bacon for Hire, Brett Henry, Kenor, Da Bears, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, DJ Elephant, John Piet, Jordan Kuntz, King Magic Ruler, Knight Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Matthew M. Derezo, MBT Play Madolce, Melfi Stan, Mike Carlotti, Puffins of Doom, Rose Lapine, Solar Flare the Ricka Queen, Storm King 01, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Vincent Storm, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, Yuki, and Your Socks Are Moist Again. Couldn't do it without you.